was playing the one-armed bandit next to his table. "All right, son." McCoy shrugged and nodded. The man stopped playing the bandit and stared at him with a look of incomprehension. Everything was askew about him. The crumpled khaki raincoat, the trilby tilted over one eye, the shirt collar sticking up at one side, the way he was swaying and holding on to the one-armed bandit, bringing a crushed cigarette to his lips, which shut around it like a squint vice. Even his face seemed to be leaning over to one side, as if he had always looked at the world side on. He turned his attention back to the one-armed bandit. "Bastard," he said to it. McCoy watched him playing the machine. There was nothing unusual about a drunk man playing a one-armed bandit, but there was something obsessive about the way this one was dropping coin after coin into the slot, each time uttering a gruff curse as he wrenched the handle, then waiting in silence as the bells and bars and clusters of grapes spun and juddered into line. If he won, he would immediately feed another coin into the slot and wrench the handle, even before stooping to collect his winnings. When he lost, he would remonstrate violently with the machine before going on, shaking it from side to side between his big hands and thumping the flashing, bleeping structure with the side of his fist, shouting, "Christ Almighty, give us a chance." It was the moment of the man's waiting McCoy found himself watching, because it was then, while the cymbals whirred before his eyes, that he seemed to become completely oblivious to everything. His eyes took on a dreamy kind of look, his fist relaxed its grip on the handle, and his mouth hung open. McCoy wanted that too. He needed that too, that moment of oblivion. Sometimes the drunk man would interrupt that moment of waiting to shout, "For Christ's sake, give us a hold!" Then he would relax again and the faraway look would come into his eyes as he waited for the cymbals to thud into line. He went on and on like that as McCoy watched, sometimes winning, usually losing, cursing and remonstrating with the machine and having his moments of oblivion. What was he cursing and remonstrating with, apart from the one-armed bandit? What was he letting go of when his fist loosed its grip on the handle and his eyes took on the faraway look? Sometimes his moment of oblivion would outlast the motions of the machine, so that the cymbals would thud into line before his eyes, but he wouldn't see them, being given over to waiting. He seemed to look beyond the line of dollar signs, plums, and gold bars into the void. At such times he'd sometimes miss a hold, then reprimand himself. "For fuck's sake, get a grip." After a while he sagged to his knees and searched in the payout tray. He came up with a solitary coin, held aloft between finger and thumb. He swayed against the bandit and regained a kind of balanced imbalance. He looked over to McCoy again, nodded and held the coin out at arm's length as if he was a magician, holding something out for the audience's inspection. Against his will, McCoy had become the audience. Everyone else in the bar was ignoring the drunk old bastard. Now he wanted some audience participation. McCoy took the 10 pence from him, examined it, nodded to show that he was satisfied that it was genuine, then handed it back to him. Now he was going into mime show. He put the coin between his teeth and bit on it, then indicated the bandit with a sweeping gesture of his hand. He uttered a few explanatory sounds, not quite words, then took up his position in front of the bandit, holding the coin at the slot, but not putting it in yet. "Drum roll," he growled at McCoy. McCoy nodded to him and smiled. One or two of the regulars were giving him looks. Christ, he had to get out of here. "Drum roll!" shouted the drunk man. McCoy obliged, drumming his fingers on the table. The drunk man tried to fit the coin into the slot of the bandit, but it slipped from his fingers and bounced off the machine. He wheeled around wildly as he tried to trap the rolling coin underfoot, veering towards the door and collapsing sideways. Everyone in the bar turned to watch as the drunk man hit the floor noisily. The barman came around the bar, throwing McCoy a dark look as he passed his table, and walked over to where the drunk man was lying. He stood over the casualty and, watched by everyone in the bar, clasped his hands in prayer, intoned a Latinate mutter, and genuflected briefly. One or two of the men at the bar laughed and applauded. Feeling somehow responsible for the drunk man, McCoy went over to help the barman haul him to his feet. They walked him over the floor and leaned him up against the one-armed bandit. The barman shook him. "Have you no got a hame to go to?" said the barman. "No."